What is the fastest you have ever seen a new coworker get fired? During their onboarding training, they stole my boss's wallet on camera. 1 hour in. This is the opposite route here, but I found it amusing. My boss was out of town and I managed a tea shop near a Starbucks years ago. This kid came in, foreign, and said he was supposed to start today. We were hiring and I trained him, etc. My boss came back 2 days later and had no idea. The kid was in the wrong place, but he stayed with us. Hired on the spot without even applying. Moving company. Midwest. Most people didn't make it through the first week. They will hire literally anyone who can pass a drug test. True Nova was really bad, but I guess that's the nature of the job. I'll never forget Jeremy. Jeremy was 18. Did not apply for colleges. So his parents made him get a job. He was hired as a mover. As is everyone. He shows up the first day to roll call in a full suit and tie, asking where his desk is. This was a group full of former convicts, high school dropouts, and generally rough dudes trying to make a living. We laughed so hard. Jeremy went right back home. Next day, Jeremy's mom shows up to give the manager a piece of her mind. We laughed even harder. New guy drove a forklift into a fire hydrant in front of a safety rep for the company. His supervisor was called over, and he immediately tells the supervisor that he won't pass a piss test, as he used his only bottle of clean piss earlier that day when he hired in. Everybody standing there immediately burst into laughter, which continued as security, also laughing, escorted him off-site. Even the supervisor was all smiles. Just gave him a pat on the back and wished him the best of luck. It was wild. A week. I worked in a bar and a new girl started. At work. She seemed a little rough but was fine. One day she finished a shift. Sat at the bar and ordered a red wine with lemonade and ice in it. Not really relevant to the story. Just shows she is clearly insane. Her boyfriend came in. They had a huge domestic in front of my manager and several customers, and she threw her drink over her BF and dramatically stormed out. Heard this from a manager I worked with when I worked in fast food. There was this one kid who didn't show up for work. He ditched work often. So the manager called around. Couldn't get anyone to fill in his shift. So she had to fill it for him. A few hours into his shift, the dude ditching shows up with his friends and orders food from that manager. She fired him on the spot. Edit, these were my first awards. And y'all just multiplied my karma by 10. Thanks y'all for the likes and awards. First day of work. He walks in. Says what the frick is up, Dumbus, to the guy that parked next to, didn't touch, his new Camaro he bought since he got hired. The guy was the CEO of the company I used to work for. On visit to our branch. Literally 10 minutes into his shift he was signing release papers. I work construction. We had 2 new hires that were friends starting the same day. Boss told one take a coffee order and come back. Took everyone's money and said he needed his friend to go with him cause it was a big order. They never came back. This was a while ago at my old job. New guy gets hired as a busboy. He was super annoying and tried to insert himself into everyone's conversation whether they wanted him there or not. It only took a couple of hours for the whole restaurant to hate him. I was working the bar and he kept eating the bar fruit. I personally didn't care, but the manager did. Manager comes over and tells him to stop eating the fruit. He looks the manager in the eye and eats another piece of fruit. Manager says, really? Followed by come with me to the office. New guy promptly replies with alright man. Calm down. I can tell you got that big PP energy for a good reason, followed with cliche wink and nudge from his elbow. In front of me and like 4 other employees. I wanted to slam my face into the ice bin. It was so cringy to witness. He promptly walked out the front door 10 minutes later without his uniform on anymore. The worst thing about it was the manager was an insanely laid back guy. Hell. The whole restaurant was insanely laid back. You really had to try hard to get fired from this place. Had he not thrown in that big PP line, I'm almost positive he would have just gotten a slap on the wrist and kept the job. Guy got hired. While going through orientation realized that his ex-GF worked there too. Turned around and walked right out the front door. Not sure if it counts as being fired. But a guy in our basic training threatened a drill sergeant with a bayonet. No idea what happened after he went to the hospital. But I didn't see him again. You don't tell me what to do. You're a woman. To his trainer. Lasted until management came in that morning and heard about it. Worked in a grocery store for a while. New guy took a lobster out of the tank and removed the elastic bands on its claws. Then proceeded to put it back in the tank. The thing murdered all the other lobsters in the tank. New guy started on Monday and was gone by Friday. The guy hit some racking in the warehouse with the forklift. Boss saw him do it. And the guy decided to lie about it when asked if he knew what happened. A 19-year-old kid got hired to work the seafood counter. See him twice and then never again. Asked a co-worker what happened. He had closed seafood one night and was walking out of the store and the 5 pounds of crab legs he'd stuffed down the back of his pants fell out in front of the closing manager. Edit, it was at a Publix. No. It was not Jamies Winston. Couldn't pass the simple tests given at the end of new hire orientation. Yelled at test facilitator when she wouldn't just take the test for him. The IT crew at a large government office worked on a ticket system. Meaning that the government workers submitted their problem online and one of the IT guys would pick it up on their end. The new guy just started his first day. Logged into a computer at an empty office. And submitted a reinstall entire OS request so he could spend all day there. The manager decided to check in on him before lunch to see how he was doing. And he was completely asleep. Fired before they even finished his hiring paperwork. Guy got hired. Went through training and all that jazz. First day on the floor. He disappeared for 3 hours and then came back high as frick on like meth or something. A manager found him in the bathroom aisle. Staring at himself in the mirror. Said manager looked at the cameras after firing him. The guy was there staring at himself for at least 30 plus minutes. Edit to clear up some questions. I worked at Home Depot. He was in the aisle where we sell bathroom countertops and medicine cabinets. We also have mirrors in this aisle and that's where he was. Not in the bathroom, haha. This was a pizza place I worked at in college. New guy was started on Thursday. Fine worker, we showed him the ropes. He was on subs, which is the easiest job. The instructions are right in front of your face. Friday he no call no shows, it's Friday. The busiest night of the week. And he and I were the only kitchen workers that weren't also drivers. Monday a police officer shows up at the restaurant looking for him. No idea what happened as he wasn't there. Tuesday the owner informed me he was let go. Co-worker quit his job. Great job. Great pay. Great benefits to work in a radio repair place. I mean, gotta do what you love, and he was also a big radio enthusiast. Got fired the first day on the job for stealing parts for his own radios at home. Took him over a year to get back with us. Surprised they rehired him. He then got fired for being a security risk about a year or so later. Corporate chain restaurant new server. Aged mid-30s. Third day he was working, we had to fire him mid-shift. Why? Dude went into the public restrooms. With other guests clearly in there using the urinal. And started doing lines of blow off on the edge of the sink. I called a temp agency to get someone to help me count inventory. They sent a guy over with a cast on his arm. That was my first WTF, but I went with it because we were just counting parts. Then I came back from lunch and this dude was in my office chair zoned out and drooling on himself with a can of air duster in his lap. I kicked him awake and escorted him out of my warehouse. Never used that temp agency again. 5 days. My boss hired an executive chef. Dude didn't even know how to make a quesadilla. Guy slept through 2 meetings on his first day. The second meeting he started snoring. New director starts. At lunchtime goes to cafeteria. Pays for the first salad plate, by weight. Then goes back twice for refills without paying. Cafeteria has cameras. Cafeteria manager talks to the partner in charge. New director fired before the end of day. Guy had been working a few days at a barn. Decided to smoke right by bales of hay. Manager saw him and fired him right on the spot. At farms, you don't frick around with fire. A man was hired to do stock at a tea store that sold lots of delicate china. Manager walked into the back on his third day and saw him just throwing boxes of teacups and teapots. Instantly fired. As a teenager, I worked at a bowling alley. Within an hour, a new girl was fired on the spot for dropping a ball on the foot of a complaining patron. Oh. I've got one for this. I was hired to do tech support in a call center. On our first day of training there were about 30 of us in a room and we each had our own computer. The instructor said it was okay to use the computer for personal stuff during downtime, but the only rules were no games and no porn. One guy got fired before lunchtime because he just couldn't resist the porn. She was hired because the manager thought she was hot. Turned out she was 15 and unable to actually work there. Where to begin? One person didn't show up for their second day, citing culture shock, and then spent at least an hour each day complaining about everything to HR. They were gone inside of a month. Some other bloke refused to follow processes and called his manager an irrelevant woman in team meetings. Gone within a week. My favorite was technically a new co-worker from my perspective only, as I'd only just become aware of their existence. They interpreted we're going to retire that server from production as we're going to throw the hardware off of the roof into a skip, and proceeded to head down to the data center. Power the thing off in the middle of the day. Drive to his friend's office. Plug the box in and deploy a bunch of IVR scripts he derived from our proprietary scripts so they could run a bunch of psychic and hanky-panky hotlines. He was gone within 10 minutes of getting that server back. About 35 minutes I hired a guy to work for me as quality inspector for merchandise headed to Walmart and Target. He bragged about everything he stole from his last job during training and how they paid him more than I did. Well, I'm not holding him back from all that money, so I had some big guys escort him off the property. Didn't like the boss and on the first day took a piss in the gas tank of his Jeep. Bragged about it and it was recorded too. 3 hours into the first shift, guy lost it serving an annoying customer in a grocery shop. Throw a cabbage at her. The manager came and told him to go home cause he finished there. He wasn't surprised. I was standing next to him. It was an entertaining day. Co-worker. Smoked like every 40 minutes for like 10 minutes. Then asked the boss if he could leave an hour early because he didn't take his lunch break. As my boss said, sure you can. But you don't need to come back. 4 or so hours. When I was 18 I got a job at a grocery store. Along with 3 others. We all started training together. On the first day we were training in the evening. And one girl asked to go home. She said her head hurt. They said fine. She clocked out. Went to grab a grocery cart and started filling it with beer and liquor. The store manager walked over and asked her if she was having a party. She said yes. Didn't even try to come up with an excuse. Just, yeah, I am. So I needed to leave early on my first day. Basically, he fired her. Guy showed up to work on his first day with the smell of alcohol on his breath. 7 AM. When questioned he admitted to taking a couple swigs on the ways in to calm his first day nerves. Yeah. Fired on the spot. Worked here less than 20 minutes. This was just a summer job at a fast food place. We had a new girl start and within 2 days it was apparent she was an idiot and everyone knew that. You could already see the manager questioning his decision. Then on her 3rd day of work she said she couldn't come in because her mom was in a car accident and in the hospital. Turns out that's an easy thing to disprove in a relatively small town.
Hi there. Look, if you enjoyed the video, well, why not go ahead and hit that like and subscribe to Reddit Stories. In fact, if you want to see even more responses to this thread, well then, take a look. There's the link in the description below. And remember, show some love to those authors while you're there. And I look forward to seeing you next time.